My sober brother called CPS on me for smoking weed. Now our family is shattered, and I'm left wondering if forgiveness is even possible. I never thought I'd be in this position, sitting here with my front door locked 24/7, all because of my own brother. It's a strange feeling, knowing that the person you grew up with, shared countless memories with, is now someone you can't trust to even knock before entering your home. But that's where I find myself, and it's all because of a series of events that I'm still trying to process. Let me start from the beginning. My name's Sarah, and I have a brother named Tom. We've always been close, or at least I thought we were. Growing up, we went through some tough times together. We were put into the foster care system at a young age, bouncing from home to home until we were finally adopted. But our adoptive father, well, let's just say he wasn't the loving parent we hoped for. He was a monster of a man, and those years left scars on both of us that we're still dealing with. Despite our rough start, Tom and I managed to build our own lives. I have 2 kids now, my daughter Lily who's 10, and my son Max who's 7. They're the light of my life, and I'd do anything to protect them. Tom also has a family of his own. He's married to Karen, and they have 2 boys, Jack and Ben, who are around the same age as my kids. Now, here's where things get complicated. A few years back, Tom got clean and sober. Don't get me wrong, I was happy for him. Addiction is a tough battle, and I was proud that he managed to overcome it. But something changed in him after that. It was like he became a completely different person. Me. I smoke weed. It's legal where I live, and honestly, it helps me deal with some of the anxiety and PTSD from our childhood. I'm not ashamed of it, and I'm always careful to keep it away from the kids. But Tom. He started to look down on me for it. It was like he couldn't understand that there were different ways to live a good life. At first, it was just little comments here and there. He'd wrinkle his nose if he smelled it on me, or make snide remarks about how I should get clean like him. I tried to brush it off, telling myself that he was just overzealous in his newfound sobriety. But as time went on, his attitude got worse and worse. It wasn't just about the weed either. He started criticizing everything about my life, the way I dressed, the food I ate, even the way I parented my kids. Nothing I did was good enough for him anymore. One day, about 3 months ago, we were having a family barbecue at our mom's house. Tom and Karen were there with their kids, and so were my sister Emily and her husband. We were all sitting around the patio, enjoying the sunshine and catching up. That's when Tom started in on me again. "You know, Sarah," he said, his voice dripping with condescension, "I really think you should consider giving up that stuff. It's not good for you, and it's definitely not good for the kids." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my cool. "Tom, we've been over this. It's legal, and I'm careful about it. The kids never see it or have access to it." He scoffed. "Yeah, right. I bet they know exactly what's going on. You're probably high right now, aren't you?" I could feel my face getting hot. "No, I'm not. And even if I was, it's none of your business." That's when he dropped the bomb. "You know, if you keep this up, I might have to call CPS. Someone needs to look out for those kids." The entire patio went silent. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own brother, threatening to call Child Protective Services on me? It felt like a knife to the heart. "Tom!" our mom exclaimed. "That's enough. You can't say things like that." But the damage was done. I gathered up my kids and left, tears stinging my eyes as I drove home. I hoped it was just an empty threat, something he said in the heat of the moment. But deep down, I had a sinking feeling that this wasn't over. For the next few months, things were tense. I started avoiding family gatherings, making excuses when Mom tried to get us all together. I couldn't bear to be in the same room as Tom, knowing what he thought of me. But life went on. I focused on my kids, on my job as a graphic designer, on anything but the rift that had formed in our family. Then, last Sunday, it happened. I was at home, helping Lily with her homework while Max played video games in the living room. It was a normal, quiet Sunday afternoon. That's when my phone rang. "Hello?" I answered, not recognizing the number. "Hello, is this Sarah Thompson?" a man's voice asked. "Yes, this is she. Who's calling?" "This is Mark Johnson from Child Protective Services." I'm trying to locate your residence. We've received some complaints and need to do a welfare check on your children. My heart stopped. I couldn't believe it. Tom had actually done it. He'd called CPS on me. With shaking hands, I gave the social worker my address. As soon as I hung up, I called my mom and Emily. I needed them here, needed their support. I was in the middle of explaining what was happening when I heard the front door open. Tom and Karen walked in like they owned the place, looking around with critical eyes. I felt a surge of anger. How dare they just walk into my home after what they'd done? What are you doing here? I demanded. Tom had the audacity to look confused. We always come over on Sundays, remember? What's going on? You look upset. I couldn't hold back anymore. Did you call CPS on me? The way he shrugged his shoulders, so casual, so nonchalant, made my blood boil. Yes, I did. Why? I lost it. Get out. I screamed. Get out of my house right now. I never want to see your face again. Tom and Karen quickly shuffled out, looking shocked at my outburst. As soon as they were gone, I collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. How could he do this to me? To my kids? The next few hours were a blur. The social worker arrived, asking questions, looking around the house. He talked to Lily and Max, and I could see the confusion on their faces. They didn't understand why this stranger was asking them such weird questions about their home life. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the social worker left. He assured me that from what he could see, there was no cause for concern. The case would likely be closed quickly. True to his word, 4 days later, I got the call that the case was being closed. CPS had found nothing in our home or about our family that warranted their involvement. It was over, but the damage was done. Tom and Karen started messaging me, trying to guilt me into forgiving them. They said they were just worried about the kids, that they thought they were doing the right thing. But I couldn't find it in me to forgive them. Not for this. Not for putting my children through this stress and confusion. Not for betraying my trust in such a fundamental way. I changed the locks on my doors. I blocked their numbers on my phone. I told Mom and Emily that I didn't want to hear anything about Tom or be anywhere he was going to be. It was a hard decision, cutting off my own brother, but I knew it was the right one. The weeks that followed were tough. Explaining to the kids why they wouldn't be seeing their uncle, aunt, and cousins anymore was heartbreaking. Lily, being older, seemed to understand a bit better. She hugged me tight and said, "It's okay, Mom. We don't need them if they're going to be mean to you." Max took it harder. He kept asking when we'd see Jack and Ben again, not really understanding why we couldn't just forgive and forget. I tried my best to explain it in terms he could understand, about trust and respect, but I know it was confusing for him. One night, about a month after the incident, I was tucking Max into bed when he asked me a question that broke my heart. "Mom," he said, his little face scrunched up in thought, "did Uncle Tom think you were a bad mommy?" I sat down on the edge of his bed, trying to find the right words. "No, sweetie. Uncle Tom. He made a mistake. He thought he knew what was best for our family, but he was wrong. And sometimes, when grown-ups make big mistakes like that, it's hard to forgive them." Max nodded solemnly. "I think you're the best mommy ever," he said, wrapping his arms around my neck. I hugged him back, fighting back tears. "Thank you, baby. I love you so much." As the weeks turned into months, life started to settle into a new normal. We had family dinners with just Mom, Emily, and her family. It was quieter, less chaotic, but also less stressful. I didn't have to worry about Tom's judgmental stares or Karen's passive-aggressive comments. One Saturday afternoon, I was in the backyard with the kids, helping them set up a tent for a backyard camping adventure, when Emily stopped by unexpectedly. "Hey, sis," she said, giving me a hug. "How are you holding up?" I shrugged. "We're doing okay. It's still hard sometimes, but we're managing." Emily nodded, watching as Lily and Max argued over where to put the tent stakes. "Tom asked about you again," she said quietly. I stiffened. "Emily, I told you." I know," she interrupted. "I'm not here to defend him or ask you to forgive him. I just I thought you should know that he seems to be realizing what he's lost." I didn't respond, focusing instead on helping Max hammer in a particularly stubborn tent stake. Emily continued, "He said he's been going to therapy. Trying to work through some of his issues from before." I knew what she meant. From our childhood, from the years with our adoptive father. Part of me was glad that Tom was finally getting help, but another part of me was angry that it took losing his relationship with me and my kids for him to realize he needed it. "That's good for him," I said finally. "But it doesn't change what he did." Emily nodded. "I know. I just wanted you to know. You don't have to do anything with the information." We spent the rest of the afternoon setting up the tent and roasting marshmallows over a small fire pit. As I watched Lily and Max laugh and play, I felt a pang of sadness for what they'd lost, their relationship with their cousins, their uncle and aunt. But I also felt a fierce protectiveness. I knew I'd made the right decision in cutting Tom out of our lives, no matter how much it hurt. That night, after the kids were asleep in their tent, with the promise that I'd join them later, I sat on the back porch, looking up at the stars. I thought about Tom, about our childhood, about the paths our lives had taken. I wondered if there would ever come a day when I could forgive him, when the hurt and betrayal wouldn't feel so raw. As I sat there, I heard my phone buzz. It was a text from an unknown number. My heart raced as I opened it, somehow knowing who it was from before I even read it. "Sarah, it's Tom. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, and I'll respect that after this message. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I know those words aren't enough, but I'm working on myself, trying to understand why I did what I did. I hope that someday, you'll be willing to talk to me again. I miss you, sis. I miss the kids. I'm here when you're ready. If you're ever ready." I stared at the message for a long time, a whirlwind of emotions coursing through me. Anger, sadness, a tiny flicker of hope. But mostly, I felt tired. Tired of the drama, tired of the pain, tired of the complicated history that seemed to define our family. I didn't respond to the message. I wasn't ready, and I didn't know if I ever would be. But as I closed my phone and headed to the tent to join my kids, I felt a small weight lift from my shoulders. Tom was getting help. He was trying to change. And while that didn't erase what he'd done, it was something. For now, though, my focus was on my little family. On Lily and Max, peacefully sleeping in the tent. On rebuilding our lives without the constant judgment and criticism. On healing. As I zipped myself into my sleeping bag, listening to the soft breathing of my children, I made a promise to myself. No matter what happened with Tom, no matter if we ever reconciled or not, I would always put my kids first. I would be the parent they deserved, the one I wish I'd had growing up. And for the first time in months, I fell asleep with a sense of peace, knowing that no matter what challenges came our way, we would face them together. Me and my kids, our little family unit, stronger than ever. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of birds chirping and the rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze. For a moment, I forgot where I was, startled by the unfamiliar surroundings. Then I remembered, we were camping in the backyard. I looked over at Lily and Max, still sound asleep, their faces peaceful in the early morning light. As I quietly unzipped the tent and stepped outside, I took a deep breath of the crisp morning air. The events of the past few months came flooding back, the CPS visit, the fight with Tom, the decision to cut him out of our lives. It all seemed so surreal in the quiet of the morning. I made my way to the porch and started the coffee maker, a camping tradition I wasn't willing to give up even for backyard adventures. As I waited for the coffee to brew, I found myself thinking about Tom's text from the night before. Part of me wanted to delete it, to pretend I'd never received it. But another part of me, a part I wasn't quite ready to acknowledge, felt a tiny spark of hope. The coffee maker beeped, pulling me out of my thoughts. I poured myself a cup and sat down on the porch steps, watching as the sun slowly rose over the neighborhood. It was going to be a beautiful day. "Mom!" I heard Lily's voice behind me. "What are you doing up so early?" I turned to see my daughter, her hair a mess from sleeping in the tent, rubbing her eyes sleepily. "Just enjoying the morning, sweetie," I said, patting the step next to me. "Want to join me?" Lily nodded and sat down, leaning her head against my shoulder. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching as the world slowly woke up around us. Mom, Lily said finally, her voice quiet. Do you think we'll ever see Uncle Tom and Aunt Karen again? I sighed, wrapping my arm around her shoulders. I don't know, honey. It's complicated. Because of what they did. Calling those people to check on us? I nodded. That's part of it, yes. Uncle Tom. He made a big mistake. He hurt our family in a way that's hard to forgive. Lily was quiet for a moment, processing this. But don't you always tell us that it's important to forgive people when they make mistakes? Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. She was right, of course. I'd always tried to teach my kids the importance of forgiveness, of second chances. But this felt different. You're right, Lily, I said slowly. Forgiveness is important. But sometimes, when someone hurts us very deeply, it takes time to be able to forgive them. And sometimes, even if we forgive them, we might need to keep our distance to protect ourselves. Lily nodded, seeming to understand. I miss Jack and Ben, she said softly. But I don't like how Uncle Tom made you sad. I hugged her tighter, marveling at her emotional intelligence. I know, sweetie. I miss them too. But right now, we need to focus on our family, you, me, and Max. We'll be okay. As if on cue, we heard the tent unzip again, and Max stumbled out, his hair sticking up in all directions. What's going on? He asked, his voice still thick with sleep. Are we having a family meeting without me? I laughed, reaching out to ruffle his hair. Never, buddy. Come on, let's go make some breakfast. Who wants pancakes? The kids cheered, the serious conversation forgotten for now in favor of the promise of syrupy goodness. As I followed them into the house, I found myself thinking about Lily's words. Forgiveness. Second chances. It wasn't something I was ready for yet, but maybe. The weeks turned into months, and life settled into a new rhythm for us. The kids adjusted to our new family dynamic, and I focused on creating a stable, loving environment for them. But Tom's text message lingered in the back of my mind, a constant reminder of the unresolved conflict. One crisp autumn afternoon, as I was raking leaves in the front yard, a familiar car pulled up to the curb. My heart raced as I watched Tom step out, looking nervous and uncertain. Sarah, he called out softly, keeping his distance. I know I'm probably the last person you want to see, but can we talk? I stood there, rake in hand, conflicting emotions warring within me. Part of me wanted to tell him to leave, to maintain the wall I'd built. But another part, the part that remembered the brother who had been my protector during our tumultuous childhood, hesitated. 5 minutes, I said finally, setting the rake aside. That's all you get. Tom nodded, relief evident on his face. Thank you. I've been in therapy, like I mentioned in my text. I've been working through a lot of our childhood trauma, and I've come to realize how much it affected my behavior, especially towards you. I listened silently as he continued, what I did was inexcusable. I let my own fears and insecurities cloud my judgment, and I hurt you and the kids in the process. I'm not asking for immediate forgiveness, Sarah. I know I don't deserve that. But I'm hoping that maybe, over time, we can start to rebuild some kind of relationship. As I looked at my brother, I saw genuine remorse in his eyes. The anger I'd been holding onto for months began to soften, just a little. Tom, I said, my voice barely above a whisper, what you did. It broke something between us. I don't know if it can ever be fully repaired. He nodded, eyes downcast. I understand. But, I continued, causing him to look up hopefully, I'm willing to try. For the kids, for our family, and for ourselves. It won't be easy, and it'll take time, but maybe we can start with small steps. Relief washed over Tom's face. Thank you, Sarah. That's more than I could have hoped for. As if on cue, Lily and Max came bursting out of the house, stopping short when they saw their uncle. Uncle Tom? Max asked, confusion evident in his voice. I took a deep breath, looking at my children. Kids, Uncle Tom and I have been talking. We've decided to try and work things out, slowly. How would you feel about having dinner with Uncle Tom, and Karen, and your cousins this weekend? Lily and Max exchanged glances before breaking into cautious smiles. Really? Lily asked. We can see Jack and Ben again? I nodded, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. Yes, we can try. As the kids ran to give Tom a hug, I watched with mixed emotions. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild. But as I saw the joy on my children's faces and the gratitude in Tom's eyes, I felt a glimmer of hope. Family is complicated. It can hurt us in ways nothing else can, but it can also heal us if we let it. As I stood there in my front yard, watching my brother interact with my kids for the first time in months, I realized that this was a new chapter for all of us. We had a long way to go, but we were taking the first step. And sometimes, that's all you need to start healing. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: we would face it together, as a family. Flawed, complicated, but bound by love and a shared history. And in that moment, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would find a way through them, one day at a time.